Good afternoon, and welcome to today's caregiver webinar, Dementia is Stressful. My name is Allegra Jaffe, and I am the supervisor of the Caregiver and the Supportive Service Unit with the Fairfax Area Agency on Aging. A few housekeeping items today before we start the session. Today's presentation is being recorded. A link for the recording of the session will be sent to all the registrants by next week. You all should have been emailed the slides this morning, but we will also send the slides out with the recording next week. If you have any questions today during the presentation, you can use our Q&A button. We will have a question and answer session with our speaker at the end of the hour. Also, if you could please take a moment at the end of our session to fill out our brief survey. It really does help us make relevant and interesting programs for our family caregivers. And I would love to introduce our speaker today, Dr. Jennifer Pauldurai. She is a board-certified neurologist who obtained specialized training in cognitive and behavioral neurology with the Cleveland Clinic Lou Ruvo Center for Brain Health. She completed her neurology residency at George Washington University in Washington, D.C., where she also obtained a master's degree in integrative medicine. Dr. Pauldurai uses her skills in whole person care to help with memory, behavior, and mood changes in the settings of brain disease. Her focus is on dementia and cognitive disorders, but she also is interested in providing a personalized care plan for anyone going through neurologic illness that affects their quality of life. Her goal is to help others live their best life and reduce the burden associated with brain disease. Thank you so much, Dr. Pauldurai, for sharing your expertise with us today. Please join us on camera and take it away.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jaffe, and for all of our participants today. I appreciate all of your time for joining me. This goes to show how dedicated you are as caregivers and loved ones and family members, that you are setting aside time to learn more about how you can be a better caregiver. And I think that's super important. And I'm sure that if you have not heard already, we are very grateful, and your loved ones are very grateful that you are trying to be better, because that's really important, and you are part of the team to helping make dementia better, right? So as you heard, I'm a cognitive behavioral neurologist, and what that means is I help people think and behave better. Dementia is hard. As you know, it's hard for people to understand, it's hard for patients, and it's hard for caregivers. So I hope that today's presentation will shed some light, and at the end I will take questions, okay? So let me put my slides up on the screen here. I know that we've talked a whole lot about probably how dementia is very stressful and burdensome on caregivers, but I also wanted to talk today particularly on how dementia causes behavioral change on patients themselves. I want to start off by saying dementia is a broad term, right? Dementia is not actually a specific diagnosis, but a description of functional status. Dementia means my brain cannot live on its own anymore. And my brain's job is supposed to help this human body, this organism, survive on this planet, to eat, to talk, to walk, to survive. That's what the brain of a squirrel does. That's what the brain of a giraffe does. That's what the brain of a human is supposed to do, okay? So actually, when we hear kind of just in here say, well, my grandma is 90 years old, she's got dementia of old age, that's actually a myth. There's no such thing as dementia of old age. Allowed to get a little bit slower, to find the right word perhaps as we age, but if we need help living on our own, then that means our brain is not able to do its job and there is a problem. That's what dementia means, okay? Dementia means our brain has a problem where it cannot live on its own. So it's just a description, right? There are different actual diseases that cause dementia. Alzheimer's is perhaps the most common disease that a lot of us are familiar with, but you can also get dementia from trauma. You can get dementia from strokes. You can get dementia from Parkinson's. You can get dementia from frontotemporal disease. You can get dementia from untreated infections. You can get dementia from Lewy body. So There's a number of different diseases, and I won't go into the different causes of dementia today, but at the end of the day, any of those causes of dementia can cause a change in somebody's behavior and management of stress because the brain does all of those things. The brain helps us talk and walk and eat and interact with the world, so it changes who a person is, as you guys know, right? So how many of you are probably familiar with something like this happening, right? So let me just walk you through this scenario. She didn't want to come to the office. It was already a struggle to get her in the car. Now she's not having her vitals checked. She's yelling at the nurse. She wants to go home. This is a grown woman. She's 75 years old. Why can't she just understand this is a doctor's visit? Why doesn't she just understand that this is for her own good? And I've tried telling her why. I've tried looking at her and just sitting her down, and I've been so patient. I've tried explaining it to her in short, simple phrases. I've been so patient. Why doesn't she get it? Why doesn't she get it? We're just trying to help her. Why doesn't she work with us, right? And I'm sure you guys have experienced this to some degree or another many, many times, whether it's at the doctor's office, whether it's at the dentist, whether it's at the grocery store. Patients with dementia have behaviors that can be very difficult, that can be misunderstood, that can be unexpected, and they change. Sometimes day by day, sometimes by the hour, sometimes even by the minute. 1 minute, we're like, okay, things seem to be okay. I feel like we're in a good spot. We're in a good spot. And then the next minute, it seems like there's chaos, right? Next minute. So why does this happen? Why does this happen? We're going to talk about that today and what we can do about it. The goals of today's talk are three big objectives is how can we recognize things that stress out someone with dementia? Recognizing stressors, okay? Unexpected behavior often relates to unexpected or confusing stress in the brain because dementia is very stressful to someone with a brain change, okay? Then we're going to talk about how we can address physical needs because stress is not just a psychological stress, but it's actually a physical problem. And then how can we change the environment? Because we often can't change the behavior, but we can change the trigger or the stressor that caused the behavior. Okay, so those are our three big goals. We're going to keep coming back to this slide to make sure we're addressing those, okay? So before we actually get started with that, I want to explain a little bit about how dementia works. And I want to take you guys and explain what it feels like to have dementia. The experience of dementia can be similar to walking in the woods without a cell phone, without a flashlight, walking in a fog. There's limited information. I don't know what's going to happen when I turn the corner. I don't know if there's going to be a bear. I don't know if there's going to be somebody attacking me. I don't know what's going to happen next. Every single second is brand new. I don't know when this is all going to end. I don't know if I'm lost. I don't know if I'm walking home or if this is the right way to go. Okay. It's scary. It's stressful. And I don't know if they're talking about me. I don't know if they're going to make me feel worse or if they're going to help me. It's very, very stressful to be lost in the woods, right? And it's not our fault. There's some things that we think might be our fault, and there's some things that we think are laziness, and there's some things or behaviors that we think are just done on purpose. But I promise you, when somebody's got a disease of the brain, it's often not done on purpose, okay? So there are two words that I hope that we can learn today. They're two big, long words, so you don't really have to remember them, but I'll tell you about them. Anosognosia is the first word, and that's a neurologic condition when the brain is unaware of a change or condition, okay? When someone has dementia or memory loss, the brain often doesn't admit it. The brain often cannot recognize that it's making a mistake. And you probably have seen this in your loved one or someone that you're taking care of, right? When somebody has dementia or when somebody has Alzheimer's disease, they often don't know that they have a problem, okay? They often will think that they're still working, that they live by themselves and are paying their bills and they're having a jolly good time. They often don't realize that there's something wrong. And it's not a defense mechanism. It's not them being uh, dumb. It's just their brain is the CEO of this entire company, this entire body. And so their brain's first response is to go straight into everything's just fine. There's nothing wrong. The error correction mechanism is broken. That part of the brain that's supposed to tell us something is wrong is not working anymore. So when your loved one is saying, actually, I did pay the bills. I am doing fine. Oh no, I'm driving just fine. It's not because they're lying. It's not because they're being defensive or trying to cause trouble, but rather because their brain probably thinks that's true. It's because their brain thinks that's reality, and their reality is different from what you're perceiving. Okay. And I want you to imagine yourself in their position. Okay. If somebody came up to me and said that my hair was pink, but I know that my hair is black, and I'm telling you my hair is black, that would be pretty defensive too, right? What do you mean? My hair is black. I can see it. Look at it. My hair is black, right? That's what's going on for them. I'm driving just fine. Why is everybody telling me that I'm making mistakes? Why is everybody telling me that I'm having trouble when I'm doing just fine? That's anosognosia, okay? It's an inability to see the mistakes that we're making, or see the disease, or see the condition that we're in, okay? That's anosognosia. Amnesia just means the patient is unable to remember. I cannot remember the conversation that I just had. I cannot remember the groceries that I was told to pick up. That's a little bit easier to understand. The memory centers of the brain, we cannot hold on to information. Little bit different from I don't recognize the problem. Now I actually can't remember the problem. Both of these work hand in hand in dementia. And that's why it's a fog. It's like walking in a fog. Not only do they not know what's going on because they can't remember, but they don't recognize when they're making a mistake. They don't know if they're going in the right direction. They don't know if this is shampoo or conditioner. They don't know if this is how you're supposed to do something. They're not sure where they're going, why they're going, when they're going, if this is the right thing they're supposed to say at any given time. Dementia is very stressful, and this is why they cannot understand. This is why going to a doctor's office is so stressful. This is why behavior can be so unexpected, okay? So this is kind of the situational background that we have to put ourselves in, okay? I know that when we're stressed out, we do bizarre things too, right? So anyone can experience some of the stress that someone with dementia is experiencing too. We just have to put ourselves in their shoes. And you and I, when we get stressed, we can have some of these symptoms too, but we might just experience them a little bit differently. Someone with dementia that's stressed out might be pacing or restless. They might follow you around everywhere. They might get suspicious or paranoid. Someone with dementia who's stressed could become delusional. They might believe things that are not true. Someone with dementia could even see things that are not there. That's called a hallucination, okay? Because when the brain is missing information, it has a tendency to fill in the blanks with whatever it wants. Because remember, the brain is trying to hold on to control. Dementia is such a huge loss of control, right? So it just fills in the blanks with whatever it wants. It's lost in the woods. So when I hear something crunching in the background, my brain's going to be like, well, must be a bear. That's a bear. That's clearly a bear. We're going to die. There's a bear behind us. We better start running. Okay? Stress can look like wandering. Stress can look like waking up in the middle of the night. Stress can look like physical aggression. All of this can be signs of stress. It's not just stress like we typically think of it, like racing thoughts or, stress at work. It's not just that. I use the word stress instead of agitation or bad behavior or misbehavior, because when I'm talking to a patient in clinic and I say, well, are you misbehaving? That can be very demeaning, right? Nobody wants to come in and say, well, are you misbehaving? Are you being bad? Are you having hallucinations? That's an even worse feeling of loss of control. So I often say something to normalize it, like, are you experiencing stress? Tell me how your day's going. Everybody can relate to stress, right? So that you'll see this, and I'm going to talk about this again later in my presentation too. We want to try to normalize and have the behavior seem not as stressful by trying to make it more in control, making the person feel more in control. Okay. And that's why I use words like stress. Dementia is stressful, as opposed to how do I control my person who's misbehaving? No, that's just childish. That sounds like we're controlling an animal. No, that's not what we want to do, right? That's not what we want to do. And you guys are probably very good at that too. So first step, first things first, when somebody is having a stressful reaction, right? Let's recognize what's stressing them out. Unexpected behavior usually happens because of something confusing or something unexpected that happened to them. So what just happened? Let's learn about their world. Did somebody new just enter the room? Remember, if you're lost in a fog and now suddenly somebody new is just in the room, that could be very stressful. Was there something loud? Was there something unexpected? Like if I have the AC turn on behind me, that's not that bizarre to me. I mean, the AC turns on. I understand that it's an office and AC turns on, but for them, it might be very stressful because they're not understanding what that noise is. Now there's something cold on my shoulder and the noise, what is that humming? Oh, it's an AC. We might have to explain it, right? Is the conversation maybe confusing? Maybe a picture reminded them of something. Is the light too bright? Is whatever we're asking them to do too difficult? Is there any signs of pain or discomfort? Are they feeling fearful? Is there perhaps something new or confusing or overstimulating? Is there a lack of information? These are very common triggers for behavior change, okay? So what just happened? What is it about their world that could have changed? Put yourself in their shoes and try to learn more about their world. What just changed? So these are common ones, but you're going to know them better than me. So put yourself in their world. What just changed? Okay. And it's not that uncommon for even us to overreact to a situation, right? Like how many times have we been in a work meeting or something and I'm just like, I cannot believe this is happening. Like, and then this happened and then she said this and this, and we start coming up with scenarios that are seemingly unreal or unjustified, right? And what do we want our coworkers or our friends to tell us at that time? We don't want somebody to come up to us and say, Jen, that doesn't make any sense. You're overreacting. Just calm down. That's not what I want, right? I want somebody to probably make me some tea, get me a warm blanket, and say, I know you're stressed about this, but you have always been really good at your job. Let's figure this out together. That's what I want, right? We're going to focus on the feelings that I am feeling, not on the facts, okay? Because it doesn't matter what the facts are. At that moment, if I'm feeling scared, it doesn't matter whether there is a reality or a not. If I'm feeling scared of losing my job, it doesn't matter to me if you sit here and tell me there's no way you're losing your job. I'm not going to listen to you. Okay. Same with them. If they are feeling fearful that there is somebody in the basement, you can tell them all day long, there's nobody in the basement, there's nobody in the basement, there's nobody in the basement. They're not going to listen to you if they are scared. Okay. Rather, let's focus on the feeling of fear, right? How can I help you feel less fearful? How can I help you in that moment of fear? And how would I want to be helped when I'm fearful? Maybe I can get a flashlight and let's figure it out together. Maybe I can get you a warm blanket. Let's get you some tea. Maybe we need to set up cameras around the house. It seems like we're really getting people in the house that doesn't make any sense. We need to do something about this. I really appreciate that you're looking out for my safety. What can we do so that this is not getting out of control? That's the focus. There's something changing in their environment that's making them fearful, and that's what we need to focus on. Okay, focus on the feelings. This is not unusual for any human to go through. We do this too, okay? The next couple of slides are going to be examples. We're going to work through them together, okay? And I know I can't hear you, and it sounds like I'm talking to myself, but I hope you're with me here. We're going to go through some examples of behavior change and figure out why this might happen. So here's one that I kind of alluded to. He's seeing people and strangers entering the house. Why might this happen? So let's put ourselves in this person's shoes. Why could this happen? So maybe this person used to be a security guard or a cop or an FBI agent. Maybe he's always been very protective of their property and family. He's always been on guard. He's defensive. He wants to save his house. Maybe he saw a shadow or a flickering light. See, look, this looks like a shadow of a cat in the window. And in his brain is missing information, right? So his brain filled in the blanks, saw this shadow, and said, there's a person there. There's a person there, and that person is threatening. Okay, so his brain filled in the blanks and saw somebody there. So now he's reacting to that threat because he's trying to save his family. Maybe he saw things around the house that were rearranged and he assumed that was dangerous because he didn't understand why they were rearranged. So maybe somebody rearranged them. Clearly, somebody moved things around. Didn't make sense to him. So his brain filled in the missing spots. So what do we do to fix that is we explain it. Oh yeah, I just moved things around. I moved the shoes here, just letting you know, because I think it would be more organized if we kept the shoes in this part of the house. So that reduces paranoia, right? I'm going to clean things up. We're going to reduce clutter. How about that? I think it would be better if our house had less clutter anyway. Let's increase lighting in the house so that we're not having shadows, so that our brain doesn't play tricks on us. You see what I'm doing here? Let's do another one. She's waking up at 2 a.m. every night and she's getting ready. She's wandering outside. That doesn't make any sense. Why is she waking up at 2 a.m? Doesn't she know that's the middle of the night? Okay, let's put ourselves in her shoes. She used to be on a schedule, right? She probably used to work Monday to Friday, probably had meetings like you and I do. She wants to be on time. She's got a devastating brain illness where she's lost all control. Now she's dragged around to doctor's appointments, has no control, and the least she can do, she thinks, is to wake up on time, set an alarm, and get ready. So to her, she thinks it's time to go. She says, I'm used to being on a schedule, and it seems like it's time for me to go. So I want to be on time. I want to be held accountable. This is one thing that I think I'm ready for. I'm ready to go. Maybe she thinks she's at work. Maybe she thinks it's daytime. I want to be independent. I want to finally get something right. I want to do it right. And especially when the brain is tired and confused, which often happens right at nighttime, and that's often when we take our medications. Nighttime evening medicines tend to be sedating and confusing. Call it sundowning. We tend to be more confused. That's what happens. We tend to wander and we be more confused. We can be more confused then. Okay. So what can we do to promote less confusion at night? That's another thing we can work on. But put yourself in their shoes. Why are we confused at 2 a.m? What can we do to promote a schedule where we don't think that it's daytime then? Are there reminders? Like perhaps we can keep the blinds open that say, okay, it is dark outside, so it's not work time or it's not daytime. Okay, maybe that's something we can do to help. Or perhaps we could keep things locked, locking the doors so that we're not waking up or wandering. I know that seems restrictive, but that helps keep safety, right? Or just reminders, alarms that help keep things on schedule. Just frequent reorientation can help. And just saying, wow, you're so on top of it. You've got a schedule. I'm so proud of you that you're ready and up and ready to go. Reminders of control so that her brain doesn't feel the need to have to get up at 2 a.m, right? Here's another one. He's refusing all of his medications. Not going to come to the doctor anymore. We talked about this a little bit already, right? Anosognosia, don't think they need any help. But it's also a loss of autonomy, right? Most people hate coming to see me because you know what it is? They come to see me, a memory doctor. They're worried that I'm going to tell them they have dementia, that I'm going to put them in a home, that I'm going to say they can't drive, that I'm going to make them do really hard memory questions, that I'm going to poke and prod them, that I'm going to embarrass them in front of their family. It's really terrifying to come to a memory doctor. Worst experience in the world. Can you imagine if I dragged you to a memory doctor and embarrassed you, right? It's horrible to come to a memory doctor. I get fired by my patients all the time. I'm not offended, don't worry. But That's why coming to a doctor is so frightening, right? They're worried. We don't even understand medical conversation, me and you. And then imagine even worse if you've got a dementia on top of that. Medical conversation's really hard. They're worried they won't understand the medical conversation. They know they're going to be tested and questioned. They might not remember what was said, but they remember the experience. They remember that the doctor's in and out of there in 5 minutes. She was so quick. She was so rude. She didn't even listen to me. They're going to remember that experience. So even if they don't remember the diagnosis or the medical test or whatever needs to be done, they remember that it was really fast paced and really stressful. And I don't want to go there again. I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. Okay. So put yourself in their shoes and perhaps we can present the idea in a different way. Well, would you be open to seeing another doctor? Maybe we can find somebody who's nicer. Remember, the doctor is just there to make you feel better. Some way of presenting the idea that puts them in control, right? In fact, I tell my patients this all the time. I don't do memory testing. I'm just here to play a few brain games. I just want to make sure your brain's healthy. I never say anything about, usually after the first visit, I never bring up the word dementia ever again. How are you doing? Are you staying out of trouble? Are we having fun every day? I never wear a white coat. Like, these are all things I do intentionally. I'm a big goofball when you meet me. I do it intentionally because I'm trying to reduce this, right? I'm trying to reduce this loss of autonomy. I'm trying to reduce this. I want people to feel comfortable. We do this very naturally with our pediatric population, right? With our kids in children's hospitals. So why can't we do it with other patient populations that are feeling vulnerable, that are feeling a loss of control, right? These are things we got to be more intentional about. One more example, and then we'll go on to the next thing that I want to talk about, okay? She keeps following me around, even to the bathroom. I can't get any work done. Let's put yourself in her shoes, right? She's lost in the woods. She's in a fog. She can't remember anything. She doesn't know that she's doing anything wrong, right? But she remembers you. She remembers you because she married you. She remembers you because you feed her and you give her her medicines and you love her. And that's the only thing she remembers. She can't remember anything else, but she seems to remember you. You are her lighthouse when everything else seems lost. When every single second is a brand new experience for someone, everything else is so scary. You are their person, okay? Remember when somebody is a baby and they're learning object permanence, right? And they're learning that even when somebody is not right in front of them, like when mom is not right in the room with them, mom is still there, right? But when mom walks outside of a room, baby starts crying. And so they have to like learn that even though mom is not there, mom is still existing. This is the opposite of that. When somebody with dementia doesn't see mom or doesn't see their person, they have to learn that they still might exist. So they're following you around. They're following you around. You are their lighthouse. Because if they can't see you, maybe you don't exist. Okay. And they might not recognize or know anything else. So you are their safety blanket. Lucky you. Lucky you. Still doesn't make it any easier, but that's one way of looking at it, right? That's one way of understanding their perspective and why they might have that behavior. So that's their world. That's us understanding their world and recognizing what kind of stress they might be in. So let's help them. This is their next, let's do the next step. The next step is let's address that concern, their physical need. And stress is not just the psychological stress, it's often a physical stress too, okay? Is there something physically changing with our person? Is there something physically changing? Is the water too hot or cold in the shower? Are they comfortable in their clothes? Does their stomach hurt? And often they might not be able to tell us, right? They just feel something weird, but they can't explain it. Are they not sleeping well? Is there something bothering them? Is there something itching? Have they eaten? Have they taken their medicines? It's kind of like figuring out why your child is crying. They can't explain, right? You just have to go over and figure out, why is the baby crying, right? We have to figure it out sometimes. We have to be creative and we just have to figure out, why is this person pacing and restless and wandering? we have to figure it out sometimes. Is there something physically changing? And often that stress results from the brain not getting enough of the basic energy needs met. Remember Maslow's like triangle? These are basic needs. Those basic needs, when they're not met, that's what causes stress. And our basic needs are food, water, warmth, rest, security, safety. When we don't get those basic needs met, that's what causes stress. So perhaps those are the things we got to look out for first in our person who's experiencing behavioral change. Are they hungry? Are they warm? Okay. Are they tired? Those are some of the things we need to look out for. In addition to, is there somebody new in the room? Is there something fearful going on? Is the doctor asking too many hard questions, right? And the reason why it's a physical thing we have to think about, because dementia is a physical thing, right? This is not just a mental health illness or something. This is a physical chemical disease. Nerves and brain cells are dying. Neurodegenerative diseases cause a breakdown of brain cells. So I'm not going to go into a science lecture here, but there's a release of inflammatory cells. There is metabolism that is changing. There is a failure of energy mechanisms. Signaling is changing. There's a release of oxidative stressors. There is actual chemical change going on in the brain. The brain is sick. Okay, the brain is sick. So when there's so much chemical, physical damage going on in the brain, like no wonder some of these physical needs are changing too, right? We've got to keep that in mind. There's an actual disease, there's a war, there's a battle going on here. Whether that's buildup of amyloid protein, or maybe it's stroke, or whether it's trauma, or whatever is actually the cause of the dementia, something physical is happening, right? So we have to remember that too. This is not just our loved one being impatient. There's an actual disease going on in their brain. So let's do it again. A couple of examples of behavior change, and let's figure out what physically might be going on with them this time. So before we did it behaviorally, now let's think of the physical changes that might be going on. He's refusing to shower or wash up. Really common one, right? So what could be going on that might make somebody not want to wash up? Isn't that like basic? Doesn't everybody need to wash up? Isn't that basic knowledge? Think about it though. Showers are so stimulating. They're wet. There's water everywhere. There's smells. The smells of the perfume, the smells of the soap, and the smells of the toilet, and you're touching, and there's temperature change, and the soap and the water can get in the eye and the hair, and why is my hair wet? And it's just uncomfortable to take a shower. And by the way, it's really confusing to take a shower, the order, like when you have the soap and then the conditioner and then the body wash. Keeping things straight can be very confusing, which one you're supposed to do first. And often they look the same, and there's a lot of bottles that are looking the same too. And often as women, we've got like 17 bottles that you have to do things in a specific order too. And by the way, it's a loss of control again. It's really humiliating to need help in the shower. So patients will often not want help in the shower until it's probably too late. They'll say, no, I'm doing just fine. Nobody needs to help me in here. I've been doing this for 80 years of my life. I'm doing just fine. But probably they are not doing just fine. We need a little bit of assistance, just figuring out how to turn the hot and cold, which one is the shampoo and which one is the conditioner. Maybe we need to put on big labels just in case that says shampoo, conditioner. Get rid of the extra empty bottles. They don't need to be there. Keep it very simple. Number one. Number two, hot, cold. Keep it as simple as possible to help your loved one with dementia. Okay? Keep it as simple as possible to keep their shower routine as comfortable as possible. And just check in on them. We doing okay in there? Sometimes I need a reminder too, right? Sometimes I need a reminder to normalize. Okay. And also clothes are comfortable and they're warm, and I just don't want to deal with it. This is why toddlers hate showers too, right? This is why babies cry. No, nobody likes to go and get wet, and this is just, I don't want to do it. And so sometimes I have patients that come in and they just wear layers and layers of clothing. They would rather just put something on top of their dirty clothes. Or they'll wear inappropriate clothing because they're disoriented. They don't know if it's time for Sunday church clothes or if it's time for pajama bedtime clothes. They just don't know what time of day or what day of the week it is. So they don't know how to do clothing. They're not sure which. So how do we help them with that, right? We're not going to say, why can't you put it on? No, that's a loss of control and demeaning, right? Rather, we're going to say, oh, here, do you want to wear this one or this one? Let me help you with it. I think the arm goes in here. Let me just grab my arm here. So rather than making them feel dumb for not knowing how to wear it, we're going to help them through it as if it's a normal part of your routine. Okay, just helping them, making sure that they know where the arm goes, the leg goes, because that can get confusing. It's also really intimate stuff, right? Like shaving, wiping after the toilet. All of this is very intimate and can be painful if it's done incorrectly. So it's hard. This stuff, the toileting, the shower is very hard and difficult. This is why it's hard. This is why they refuse to do it. They just don't want to deal with it. This is all hard. It's hard to even talk about, right? Hard to even talk about sometimes. So they just don't want to deal with it. If we can't even talk about how someone with dementia is going to want to talk about it and deal with it, right? Cleaning up after the showers, all of this is hard to talk about. Another one that's hard to talk about is food, because we love food. And food is so integrated into society, right? Food and medications. Why does she keep pocketing all of her medications into her mouth instead of swallowing? Like, isn't swallowing medicine super easy? Why does she keep doing it? Well, maybe the pills taste bad. Are they causing her stomach to be upset and she just doesn't know how to describe that? Like maybe they're causing side effects. We should ask, hey, is that making your stomach hurt? Maybe she just needed somebody to ask her that. Is that making your head hurt? Is that doing something bad? Do we need to talk to the doctor about a different medicine? Right? Perhaps it is. I don't know. Other times they may be hungry and looking for food or water, and we're trying to give them medicine, right? Other times they might not be able to swallow the pill. Maybe it's too big. We need to cut it up. Maybe we need to dissolve the pill. Ask your doctor before you do that. Most pills you should be able to crush up, but not all of them. So ask your doctor before you do that. Sometimes the food needs to be cut up because we're having trouble chewing, right? Dementia affects everything, including the muscles of swallowing. We take it for granted, but chewing and swallowing is really complicated. We got to coordinate all of this, all of these muscles, right? All of that can get really complicated for somebody who doesn't know how to do all these things anymore, right? And our taste and smell change with dementia. So that's why your loved one is eating so many sweets and salty food. It's not just because they've lost control and, are undisciplined. No, that's all they can taste. That's all they remember tastes, because they've forgotten how the rest of it tastes. Everything else tastes like cardboard to them. That's why they're eating candy. Everything else has lost taste. So as long as their sugar and their diabetes is controlled, maybe that's okay. So try to balance it out with your doctor. Maybe that's all they can taste. So check on the food too. Is the food too warm? Is it too smelly? Is it not flavorful? Do we need to add more salt? Cater to their experience. I know for you, maybe the food is perfect in salt and perfect in sugar, but for them, maybe they need more salt. So just add more salt for them if it is safe medically, right? Maybe we need to arrange the plate so that they're only having one item of food at a time instead of arranging the plate like this. Like, look at this picture of this plate. If I had dementia, that would be really confusing. I wouldn't know if I was supposed to eat that leaf or if that was just a garnish, or what am I supposed to do with this fork? Or what about the lemon? Am I supposed to eat the lemon first? Or I would just be really confused by this plate. I would need help with that plate. So I would keep it simple, help them, not in a demeaning way, right? In a way of, hey, I could probably help you with that. Let me do it. I like my food cut up. You like your food cut up. Let me do it together. Let's do it together. Keep it as simple as possible. Okay. Other times, we recognize the stressor, we address their physical need, but we can't change the behavior. We can't change the fact that they're still stressed. So we change the environment. We change the things around them so that we reduce the likelihood of it happening again. This is the last part of what we're going to talk about today, okay? 3 things. Those are the 3 things I want you to walk away from today. Look at their world, okay? Step into their world with them. Recognize what it is that's stressing them out. Address their stress, their physical, their psychological stress. Address their needs, and then change their environment. Okay, here's how we can change their environment. We're going to talk about their external environment first. We've also kind of addressed some of this stuff. Could we adjust the temperature and the lighting? This is particularly helpful if somebody is having a hallucination or a delusion and they're seeing stuff. If you just make your house super bright, Maybe we won't see people in the house anymore. Okay. Can we remove clutter and extra lights that cause shadows? Can we dissolve pills in food or water? Can we prioritize activities and responsibilities to daytime so that we are less at risk for sundowning in the evening and less at risk for agitation? Can we surround them with familiar faces and environments, particularly when we are traveling or in the hospital, so that we're not confused after we have surgery? Can we make sure they're going to bed at the same time and waking up and having regular meals and water so that they're not as confused? Can we get them out of the house and participating in group activities and stimulated so that their brain doesn't fill in the blanks with paranoia, perhaps? Okay. What about the internal environment? Is there something in the internal environment that we could change? Is there something in their prebiotics or probiotics that we could adjust to help them with digestion? Is there something constipating? Is that why they're uncomfortable? Could I give them more nuts and berries and fresh fruits and vegetables so that their brain is not constantly overwhelmed by processed foods? Because that adds more stress on the brain. The Mind diet and Mediterranean diets are really good for cognitive decline. Do we need to constantly make sure that we're having regular primary care visits? Because I need to make sure that their diabetes and their blood pressure are in check, because I know that uncontrolled sugar can worsen cognitive decline. I also know that uncontrolled heart disease and too much fluid everywhere can worsen cognitive decline. Do we need to get their hearing fixed? Because if the brain is missing pieces of memory and also can't hear, that's going to worsen confusion, right? And can't see well, that's going to worsen confusion, right? Step into their world and make their world as least amount of stress as possible. What can we do to help them? Right? Least amount of confusion as possible, and least amount of stress as possible. This is the most important slide, I think, because too often we live in a world that is not dementia friendly, and we hear too many people that say things like, you can't do this anymore, you don't get to do this, listen to the doctor, can you just do this, don't you remember, why can't you do this? Put yourself in their shoes. If somebody told you, you don't do this, you can't do this, you're just a child, you don't know anything, don't be lazy, do what the doctor said. It's not very nice. That's not very friendly, and you're not going to listen to them. We're not going to emphasize weakness or inability in somebody who's got a chronic progressive brain condition, right? We're going to focus on finding a common ground and working on it together. We are going to respect them. We are going to reassure them and work on a dementia-friendly language and communication style so that their environment is surrounded by safety, so that their brain does not feel any need to be stressed. That is how we reduce behavior change in dementia. Remember, the underlying premise of this entire presentation is the brain has behavioral change in dementia because it is responding to a stress. If I can reduce that stressor, then I don't have to just put band-aids on your loved one with a bunch of psych medicines. Because unfortunately, that's what's going to happen when you take your loved one to a hospital, is they're going to get loaded up with a bunch of psych medicines that are just band-aids, right? They're not fixing the problem. They're just going to numb them. I don't want to numb your loved one. I want to fix the problem, and the problem is that their brain is stressed. So why don't we reduce the stress? And this might be what we can do to help them, right? You get to be a passenger while we're helping your brain, while we're trying to figure out what's going on. Why don't You've been driving a long time. Why don't we just put the keys away for a while? You'll hear me say that all the time. I also like my food cut up. Let me help you do that. Oh, did we have some trouble with the dishes? Let me help you out there. Or if we're very fixated on a topic and we can't get them to just change their mind, we just change the topic. We reassure and we reorient them. Okay, these are the 5 R's. See that in blue in the middle there? We reassure, we reorient, and we redirect them. Okay? You really want those cookies, don't you? But I know that they can't have cookies, right? Because they're diabetes. But I also know they have amnesia and they're going to forget soon. You really want more cookies? Okay, that's okay. Maybe we can go to the store in a little bit. Let me finish up these dishes. Could you help me finish up the dishes so that we can go to the store later? I'm redirecting them kindly, gently, firmly, out of respect, so that we're doing something else, getting their mind off of the topic, distracting them, and then never making it to the store to get them more cookies. You see, we're putting firm rules in place lovingly to look out for their safety, because that's what they would want us to do for them. Okay, this is not tricking them. Is it a lie? Kind of, sort of, but this is to look out for their safety. Okay, we are recognizing their stressors, we are addressing their needs, we're changing the environment. Okay, sometimes this is not good enough, so you have to know when you need help. Okay, in general, most dementias are progressive, but we have medications that do lessen the burden of disease. Okay, so if your loved one needs help sleeping, I have medicines that help them sleep. If your loved one is sleeping too much, we can help stimulate them. We have medicines that help with appetite, and we have medicines that help with mood. We've got medicines that can do anything in the world. But as you've probably picked up, I'm not a huge pill pusher. I don't like to just have pills solve the problem. I would rather address the concern, right? But I don't want you to feel like you are stuck without help. Your doctor should be able to help you with this on a one-on-one basis. There is no one treatment plan that fits everyone. So find a doctor who could help you. And if your doctor hasn't been able to help you with some of these issues, then you got to find somebody who does. A geriatrician is a good person to start for this. Cognitive neurologist, a neurologist in general may be able to help. If nobody has, maybe you need a referral to someone who can. So keep asking. Is there a cognitive neurologist, a dementia doctor, a geriatrician, somebody who can help me manage my loved one's dementia? Okay. Other times we need more emergency services. Okay, so if there's ever danger to self or others, hitting, running onto the street, neglect, self-neglect, I can't take care of myself anymore, overdosing on medications, those kind of things, call 911. Okay, we can't risk safety. We can't risk safety. Also, if you just want more skills and support to figure out how to learn about these kind of things, where I learned all of these things, there are lots of organizations. These are some of my favorites. Alzheimer's Association, Insight Memory Care is a local nonprofit organization that teaches a lot of these things in caregiver boot camps and programs. Fairfax Agency on Aging, right? There's all kinds of programs in this area. We're very lucky actually to have all kinds of programs in this area to teach you these things. So empower yourself as a caregiver, okay? But also know that you are not in this alone. It's going to take creativity, but as humans, we are resilient. We are allowed to make mistakes. Something that worked 1 minute may not work the next minute. You are allowed to make a mistake. We are here to help you learn and grow together. So thank you for your attention. I want to take this off the screen so that I can help answer some questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Pauldurai. Is that right? Pauldurai. Pauldurai. Everyone, Dr. Pauldurai. I got it this time. So at this moment, thank you so much for this excellent information. And can we invite the audience to share their questions with us? Doctor, if you want to press stop share, and that way the screen will just be off for us.
Forgot.
And it's fine. So somebody at the beginning asked a question, one of your scenarios that you had, and he said that on the intruder, could the caregiver accept blame for moving things when nothing actually moved, for moving things when nothing them?
Sure, if you think that would diffuse the situation. I always say, just come up with something on the fly that you think would work. It's not going to be one answer for everyone. So usually, why that happened is because every single second, the memory has changed, right? Like, for example, if I put my phone down here and then suddenly I walk away and my memory is gone, my amnesia kicks in and my phone is gone, I'm gonna be like, where did my phone go? My brain fills in the blank. Somebody took my phone. It must have been Miss Jothy, right? She probably ran through that computer screen, grabbed my phone, and stole it. Look at the mafia. They're now climbing through computer screens to steal people's phones. Can you believe that this is what the world is up to these days? That's what my brain just came up with right now. Okay, so what should I do as a caregiver who just saw this happen? I'll be like, weird, right? I didn't even know the mafia could climb through computer screens. That doesn't, I didn't even know that could happen, but maybe it does. I don't know. Maybe I have to look into that. So I would normalize the behavior. If I have to take blame for that, I'll be like, to be honest, it was actually me. I moved your phone over there. Look, it's right over there. I moved it over there. So if you need it, you want me to grab it for you? I could do that if I thought it was appropriate. But in other times, I get so fixated. No, it was definitely the mafia, that it's better to play along with the mafia. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
play it by ear. You know your loved one. See what they need in the moment to try to reassure, reorient, redirect them. If you need to take the blame, sure, take the blame. But if you think that's going to make your relationship or your situation worse, then don't take the blame. Blame someone else. Blame your doctor. I always say you can always blame me.
Thank you so much. So, another question, when is it too late to keep taking them for more T scan exams?
T-scan exams. I don't know what that means. When is it too late to keep taking them for more T-scan exams? I'm wondering if that means more diagnostic testing.
Mhm.
Um, it depends on what their disease is. So there's some diseases where I need to keep following up. In general, after I have a diagnosis, I usually monitor dementia functionally. So I'll talk to the family and be like, well, does he need help functionally with bathroom or with showering, or do we need 24-hour supervision? And I usually typically monitor progression of dementia functional history wise. At some point, it becomes more troubling and bothersome to actually get somebody in an MRI machine or a cognitive test, that I stop doing those things. It doesn't actually help me that much. And I don't diagnose dementia based off of an MRI scan or a cognitive test anyway. So it doesn't help me. And at some point, I stop doing them. Um, if that is what they meant, so probably moderately severe, I'll stop doing it. But in the beginning, probably the first couple of years, I'll do annually to make sure that we have the correct diagnosis. There are different types of dementia, right? Different causes of dementia, and some of them can look very similar, that I want to make sure I have the right cause and make sure that I'm counseling families correctly. Because the progression of Alzheimer's, for example, is very different from the progression of Lewy body, is very different from the progression of stroke. So that would be more regular. So it depends.
Thank you. Thank you. My mom is not able to walk or talk anymore, and her doctor wants to keep testing her. And I think it's too much for her and us. So that was a follow-up to that
Sure. Yeah, let me follow
question.
up to that comment. I totally agree. There are so many people who I meet who are already in like pretty like advanced stages, or even if not, if that's not your wish to get more diagnostics, tell your doctor. Tell your doctor that's not really what I'm here for.
Mm.
That's not what mom wants either. I am here to see if there's something I can do to improve the quality of my life, and that's all we want. I met a lady actually just this morning who didn't want a single test. She's like, yeah, it might be dementia. That's fine. I don't care. I just want to know if you can help me sleep better. And I'm like, that's cool. That's fine. Let me help you sleep better. It doesn't matter. The doctor should be able to work with you and help that happen. At the end of the day, doctors are a little bit dorky scientists, and we're curious. We want to know what's going on, but don't let us stop you. Don't let our dorky scientists tell you what to do. You say, no, I don't want any scans. I just want to feel better. We
Mm.
tell them.
I love that. Another question that came in is, my mother is extremely paranoid, but refuses to take any medications due to her paranoia of side effects. What can I or other family members do to assist her without medications?
Yeah. Those ones are tough. We often have to find someone or something that she trusts. So for people that are paranoid, there's often somebody, one person or one thing that she trusts, whether it's a random church member, a random volunteer organization, somebody, and we got to utilize, got to milk that connection. So I've had actually random people come to doctor's appointments because that's the only person they trust. If we can find that one person that he or she trusts, get them to come along and just say, we were thinking about it. I am want to make sure that you live your life the way you want it and keep your brain as healthy as possible. And I was talking to your friend here. I know that your friend wants this for you too. What do you guys think? I know that there's this thing that came out that can really help keep your brain healthy. Would this be something you guys are interested in? Just think about it. We don't have to talk about it now. Just think about it. And it's going to take 3, 4 visits before she probably agrees to it. But if there's somebody she trusts, just casually bringing it up repetitively, maybe it will work. No
Mm.
guarantees, maybe, but it has to come from somebody she trusts.
Thank you. Thank you. Uh, what is the best type of doctor to assist with when you think family members may have dementia? It seems my mother's PCA is apprehensive in diagnosing dementia.
Yeah, dementia is hard to diagnose. Typically, it starts with primary care and they'll do a cognitive screen, like some kind of a basic testing. Well, they'll do like a cognitive workup and then they'll refer to a neurologist typically. What I would recommend, or what I usually recommend, is there's a series of basic labs that primary care will do, and then they'll order an MRI, and then they'll refer to neurology. I would be happy to help with that. A cognitive neurologist would be happy to help with that, but usually a general neurologist could start too, because I know there's not a whole lot of me. And I know, like, even myself personally, I've got like a wait list until August right now, so it's hard to get in. So I would just get a referral to neurology and see if your primary care could get basic lab work and an MRI for you before or along with your referral to neurology. That would be helpful so we're not wasting time.
Mm.
Not that time is super rushed. Like, dementia is not one of those things that's like an infection and you got to go, 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 go. Dementia is slow. It's something that builds up over time. So it's not super urgent. I know it's scary and I know it sounds bad, but it's something that we help patients with supportive care wise. You saw the things that we talked about, right? It's like, how can I make your life better and help you think better? It's not a whole lot of things that I'm going to do to make you Einstein. I don't really have a cure to this stuff, right? So I want to make you think better and live your life better, but I'm not going to be able to cure you. So we'll start that way
Mm.
and get a referral to neurology.
This is another question that follow up to what you just said is how long are the wait times in this area to be able to see a doctor like you or for a family member who we suspect has dementia?
Probably about 4 to 6 months. I would also say I should have mentioned geriatrics could do this too. If you can find somebody that has got a memory disorder clinic, geriatrics, neurology, primary care, those are the people that I would recommend. Memory disorders, cognitive neurology, geriatrician. Those are the people. It's probably going to be 4 to 6 months.
Another question, what's happening when she is very lucid and carrying on a very lucid conversation, and then suddenly she becomes delusional and nothing external has changed in those few seconds?
Yeah, probably something internal changed then. What if her sugar changed? What if her blood pressure changed? What if her sodium changed? There's so much going on in our body at any given time that if truly nothing external changed, there must be something that changed internal then. Maybe her blood pressure dropped. Maybe she's starting to have a headache. Maybe she finally metabolized that French fry.
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
There's got to
Yeah.
be something that happened in our body that we just don't know about, right?
If several members in a family have had dementia, should we be mindful that other members will also have dementia?
It depends on the cause of dementia, right? Dementia, again, is just a description of my brain can't live on its own. There are some causes of dementia that are hereditary. For example, if Alzheimer's hits somebody younger than 65, that would be considered young onset Alzheimer's disease, and that tends to be hereditary. So that would be something that I would get checked out by a neurologist early. But if you get Alzheimer's in your 70s or 80s, that's not usually as hereditary. But I usually say if you are having memory loss or forgetfulness and it's impairing your day-to-day life, just get it checked out. If I end up telling you you're just too stressed out and not sleeping enough, better for me to tell you that than to miss some kind of disease, right? So it depends on the cause of dementia.
Mm-hmm. And I know we're just about out of time, so I have two more we're going to try to slip in. What
I
can
can
we
stand 5 minutes.
You can stay on for an extra minute. Okay, terrific. So folks, we'll stay on for an extra few minutes to get these last two questions. Please, what can be done when a single 70-year-old doesn't have a health directive and the family has no idea what is to be done in case something happens? He has all the signs of having had a stroke and early dementia, but doctors testing him says the test shows no signs. Yet he's paranoid and paranoid someone is moving and taking some of his possessions.
Yeah. It's really hard to force someone to get medical help. This is a situation we run into all the time. I can't force anyone to go and get a dementia evaluation, even if I strongly suspect it. Even me as a dementia doctor, when I see somebody, I'm like, yeah, that person's got Alzheimer's. I still can't force anyone to get help if they are living on their own and surviving on their own. But if they are not, then we can report on. You can file, anyone can say, hey, I am worried about my neighbor. Okay, it's called anonymous reporting. If you are worried that someone is unsafe, anyone can report to APS. I know this sounds really dramatic, but it is truly out of concern for the safety of this person. If you think that someone is unable to care for themselves, eating spoiled food, not paying their bills, getting into car accidents because they're not driving safely, those kind of things are safety issues. That's what happens with cognitive impairment. If they are just paranoid and forgetful, but they are paying their bills and taking care of themselves, I know this sucks to say it, but that's who they are. And they're managing, and that's who they are, unfortunately. At some point, they will get themselves into trouble, and then we will deal with it then. But if they are managing, they are managing. If they are not managing, anyone can anonymously report them, and this happens all the time. A social worker will hound them every week until they get into a safe space, until they get home health or a nursing home or something. APS.
Thank you. Thank you. Could you please offer suggestions to help the caregiver handle subsequent frustration that results from the person's dementia?
Sorry, can you repeat it?
Yes, yes, of course. Can you offer suggestions to help the caregiver handle the, and I'm saying this word incorrectly, subsequent
Subsequent.
frustrations that results from the person's dementia?
Yes. So caregiver stress, is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, caregiver
Yes.
stress.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, this is such an important topic. Caregiver stress is so under addressed, because if you are too stressed out, you are going to give yourself dementia. Please make sure you are taking a break. No one person can be a caregiver for 24 hours a day. You are working so hard. You did not get training for this. You did not sign up for this. You probably got forced into doing this, and you didn't get a degree in this. Nobody got a degree in this, okay? So what I need you to do is find a co-caregiver. Find somebody who can give you a break at least a couple of hours a week, whether that's another family member, whether that's a home health person, a nurse assistant, somebody who can come in at least a couple of hours a week so that you can go get your hair done, so that you can go golfing, so that you can take a mental break at least a little bit. And then the second productive thing I want you to do is to get yourself enrolled in a support group or a caregiver training or a caregiver community, because there are communities out there for caregivers. Like Powerful Tools for Caregiver is a program. Okay. There's other programs that Fairfax County puts on, and Ms. Jaffe would be able to go through this better. But if you go on the Fairfax County website, if you go on the Insight Memory Care website, there are communities put together for caregiver support, caregiver boot camps, all kinds of stuff. Just get yourself linked up so that you have the support you need, so that you don't break down. If you break down, your loved one will not be able to survive without you. Okay, we got to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. And feel free to reach out to us here at the AAA, and we'd be happy to help you get connected to support.
Caring for you, caring for me. Is that the program? Yeah.
Yes.
ElderLink has Care for You, Care for Me, Powerful Tools for Caregivers, all kinds of cool stuff out there.
Yes. And last question is, what about if you never got them to do a legal document to take care of them and make decisions for them?
Usually, if there is no assigned POA, it goes to next of kin legally, just whoever is next of kin. Otherwise, if there's nobody, there's literally no family member or friend that is available, then there is a state appointed guardian for that person.
Mhm.
That's what happens from a legal standpoint.
Thank you so much. And one last thing is, how do you respond to a person hearing voices when they say, "Did you hear that?" Should they respond?
Yeah, that's a good one. I can say something like, maybe I missed it. I don't think I quite caught it, but could you Could you describe it for me? Let me listen and see if I can hear it again. Oh man, maybe I need to get my hearing checked. I keep missing it, but I believe you that you hear it. I often get patients to be like, "Oh my gosh, am I going crazy?" And I'll be like, "No, no, you're not crazy." I mean, or I'll say stuff like, "Well, aren't we all a little bit crazy?" Normalize, normalize, normalize. Okay. I don't want you to lie and say I heard it, because then they'll say something like, well, what did it sound like? And then you're going to have to give details that you might not be able to provide. So just say something like, oh, I'm going to try to listen, but I'm just not hearing it. But you're not going to say it's made up. Okay. So just play along and say something like, I'm trying and I'm missing it, but I believe that you heard it, because they did hear it. To them, it was real. Okay. And you're just missing it.
Mm. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Pauldurai.
Yeah.
I got it right that time. Thank you so much for this excellent information. Thank you to our audience for spending the past hour with us and for staying on a little extra. Thank you again, Doctor, for that. I wanted to invite everyone to our next caregiver webinar, which is Navigating the Journey of Dementia with Tifa Snow on Wednesday, April 17th from 12 to 1:45 p.m. And just a reminder to please fill out that survey so you can share what caregiving topics you're interested in. And I hope everybody has a great afternoon. Thank you. Thank you again, Doctor. And I hope everyone takes care. Thank you.
Thank you.